yours and you're welcome. This is a chat with a professional, the show that has been designed to x-ray the activities of professional individuals and corporate bodies. I remain Martin Sobu, and I'm sure glad to be with you. Today we are reaching you from Washington, D.C., the United States of America, and we are going to be talking with one of the officers in the State Department to talk about HIV/AIDS, but I'm going to have to introduce him, by the time we get back from this break. But he is called Warren Buckingham. By the time he gets into the studio, I'll tell you his other name. Please don't go away as we take on this break. My guest today, another official of the US State Department, like I mentioned earlier, Warren Buckingham, popularly known as the Buck, is the Director of Country Programs, Office of the US Global AIDS Co-ordinator. Welcome once again. Alright, over $25 billion has been expended by the US government since the inception of PEPFAR in 2003 to fight this scourge of HIV/AIDS. I would like to know, so far, are you satisfied with the results we are achieving, and are they in line with the set objectives?
Okay. When we were entrusted by the Congress with that level of funding, we were also entrusted with some very significant targets around the world, and they included putting 2 million people on treatment with antiretroviral drugs, preventing 7 million infections that would have otherwise occurred if PEPFAR did not exist, and providing care to 10 million people, including orphans and children who've been affected by HIV and AIDS. And the very good news is that in the first 5 years of the program, every one of those targets was achieved, and was achieved ahead of time. So we absolutely are achieving the results that were set for us.
In 2009, I know there's a partnership funding of $48.4 million approved for Nigeria, and then it was pending, depending on the signing of some partnership documents. How far have you gone with that?
Yes.
Have these documents been signed, and is the implementation on the ground already?
Partnership frameworks in all of the countries where we work are increasingly important to the strategy for the second phase of PEPFAR around the world, because they really are meant to advance an agenda of country ownership and sustainability. And that $48.3 million that you referenced for Nigeria is meant to be focused on activities that help advance that agenda, that allow our team working in Nigeria to help the government of Nigeria do a better job of understanding, managing, and leading the response to AIDS at the country level. That process is just beginning, so we don't have results back yet. The partnership frameworks and the funds associated with them.
That's okay, but how often do you receive reports from benefiting countries, especially Nigeria, and what has been the level of impact?
We get reports twice yearly from our teams in country on sort of the outputs of programs, but then particularly through our CDC partner in concert with the Ministries of Health at country level, we undertake periodic what are called demographic and health surveys, as well as AIDS indicator surveys, where we look over a longer period of time at trends in transmission of HIV. And the latest information that I've seen from Nigeria is that the good news is that the epidemic is not expanding, and I think that the condoms, as well as other interventions, including prevention of mother-to-child transmission, are all part of what's contributing to that.
Limited is the best
much. Now, you were in New York recently, on a UN health-related issue. Would you want to talk about that?
That was the third replenishment for the Global Fund. The Global Fund is a UN organ. It's a UN agency, as it were, which was established during the tenure of Kofi Annan, who did quite well as UN Secretary General. And actually, the inspiration from it, you won't believe it, came from Abuja here in Nigeria. Good things come from Nigeria. I followed a global, international HIV/AIDS conference, and the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan was, guest of honor. He played a major role. From the proceedings, it was clear there was need for a fund driven by United Nations that can actually go to developing countries to ensure that certain diseases were completely wiped off from the face of the earth. And this was, of course, in tandem with the Millennium Development Goals. And the 6th Millennium Development Goal says that we need to reduce the burden of HIV/AIDS, of tuberculosis, and of malaria and other diseases. But these three were named. And so the Secretary General then decided that these three named diseases must be a priority, and therefore decided that the UN should inspire a global fund to which governments, individuals, private corporate bodies could contribute and then could be channeled to needy countries, particularly the developing world. So from time to time, after every cycle of about 3 years, there's need to replenish because you are dependent on donor funds. But I'm proud to say that Nigeria has taken part in all the 3 replenishments to date. During the first replenishment, Nigeria contributed $10 million. In the second replenishment, Nigeria contributed $10 million. So we've contributed $20 million as a country, and that makes us a donor country. And what I went there to do on behalf of Mr. President and the government of the Federation of Nigeria was to participate in that pledging meeting. We call it the pledging meeting, where donors came again. Even new donors also joined us, and we made further commitments. So again, Nigeria has now pledged a third tranche of $30 million. So when we redeem that third tranche, that will bring our total contribution as a donor country to $30 million. But what is important for Nigeria, and which is what I want Nigerians to know, is that this is token compared to what Nigeria is benefiting from the Global Fund. So Nigeria is regarded as not only a donor country, but also what is called an implementing country, which is the terminology used for those countries that are benefiting from the fund. They are called implementing countries. Nigeria has benefited so much. Under the phase 1, which we are still implementing globally, phase 1, provision have, in terms of approval, we should be able to eventually access up to $700 million, out of which we have already accessed $500 million. But in the second phase, we know the Global Fund has already promised Nigeria additional $700 million. So by the time we move into the second phase, we'll probably be saying total funds already Nigeria could access will come to 1.4. But for now, we should say we should be able to access the $700 million. We have accessed $500 million compared to 20 million. 20 million. So when I read some article in the media, I said, look, that is one of the best investments Nigeria have made. For $20 million, you've got $500 million. But why do we make those commitments? It is to encourage other countries. It is like something. It's like when the World Bank says, "What is your counterpart fund?" But for Global Fund, it's not called counterpart because it's voluntary. Yes. You will still benefit if you don't, but you bring goodwill. Right now, Nigeria is being celebrated in the Global Fund. Nigeria has the goodwill because we have redeemed what we pledged and we've made additional pledge. Yes. Compared to other countries that are even better. In Africa, Nigeria is not the largest economy. But even countries that were regarded as being larger than Nigeria in terms of economy, we are committing less than, in terms of donor, committing far less than what Nigeria had committed. But it gives Nigeria that leadership role. Nigeria, of course, is the natural leader in Africa. So that's what that meeting was all about.
Okay. Thank you very much. You know, I was smiling when you mentioned giving $10 million because recently I had a chat with an official of the US Global AIDS Co-ordinator who mentioned to me some scaring figures of what they've spent in Nigeria alone. I know that the US government, for instance, has spent over $25 billion in the fight against HIV/AIDS, and Nigeria is a major beneficiary of that fund. So when you mentioned $10 million, I was smiling. But be that as it may, I would like to ask, of this amount that we've received from the U.S. government, for instance, in the fight against HIV/AIDS, what level of impact do you think that has had, locally?
Funds come not only from the United States of America. Mm-hmm. Funds come from other international partners of Nigeria. But let me make this clear. What actually Nigeria is spending, we're not how do they put it? We're not an AIDS-dependent country. Yeah. We thank God for that. Nigeria is not, by far, we're not an AIDS. Nigeria can survive without those AIDS. Okay. But getting those AIDS, of course, is additional funding. And any country can always do with additional funding. The percentage, honestly, that foreign aids contribute to whatever federal government is spending overall in the healthcare is not as much as people think. It is significant, but it's not more than 10%. Okay. So people should begin to recognize that Nigeria is also spending money. Mm-hmm. Nigeria is spending money on its people, and rightly so. But we're also being helped. 10% is no small proportion, but it's not as gigantic as people used to think, but 10% is significant. So United States government and other international agencies and countries who are partnering with Nigeria at a bilateral or multilateral level have appreciated what they've been doing. Yes, how has it helped? Let's take, for instance, HIV/AIDS. The United States government's intervention was mainly through what we call the PEPFAR, which is the President's Emergency, a fund for the control of AIDS control and relief, AIDS relief. So that's PEPFAR. So it is a presidential fund from America. They spent a lot of money, but it has been useful. In addition to other funds we've gotten, whether from Global Fund or from Nigeria's own domestic sources. Before, hitherto, you were talking of prevalent rates of HIV/AIDS overall average in Nigeria, national average, of between 5 and 6%. Now it's below 5%. We're talking the current figure for 2008 is 4.6%. This is average, which means in some states it may still be as high as 6%, while some states it might actually be as low as 3%. But it's the national average. So that alone shows that it's been useful. Okay, but we know there are still challenges. For instance, particularly with preventing a HIV positive mother from transmitting it to her unborn child. We're not too happy with what we've done there so far because what we call the coverage is still low. Coverage is still about 15%. And that is worrisome, but we're now going to do something about it. So we have gained from it, but there are still challenges to be made.
In other words, we still need more funding.
We need more funding, but I think also, because we need to also begin to look at other areas. Yeah. We also need to also look at more efficient ways of managing, whatever we're getting. I don't believe, just like any country, you can also maximize whatever funds you get if you can always improve upon the system. Yeah. No system is perfect. So while we are sourcing for more funds, obviously we need more funds. There's no doubt about it. We're also trying to improve also on the management of such funds. It's very important.
All right. Information is key. And some of these information you've let out today are things that the ordinary Nigerian does not know. And that's why I'm going to ask, with the little that we've gotten internationally in form of support, do you think the country can beat its hand on the chest and say, yes, we've done well? Can we give good account of such funds?
Yes, we've done well, but we've not done enough. Nigeria has made progress. Nigeria has made progress. Let's even take, at the time the Millennium Development Goals, when we had the Millennium Summit in the United Nations, take for instance maternal mortality ratio.
Yeah.
National average was more than 800 per 100,000 women. So what we are saying is that if you take 100,000 Nigerian pregnant women, you don't need to be any special prophet. You can decree there that 800, more than 800 were going to die from something that is supposed to be a normal part of life, pregnancy.
Yeah.
We've not got in there, but we've made some remarkable progress. Now we're talking, as at 2008, we're now talking of 545. From over 800 to 505. It is progress. But again, we know that by the time we update our data to 2010, which is currently being done, there must have been, So I use that to just illustrate that Nigerians must still be thankful to God and to the government that we are making progress, and we also thank our international collaborators. But we've not done enough. There's still more to be done. That is the point we're making.
I have also noticed that the bulk of your activities is centered on the prevention of mother-to-child for this disease. Now, I'm going to ask you, are there special programs designed for the youth? Because, they are the very active ones. If you talk about transmitting this disease sexually, you're looking at the youth. So do you have special programs designed for the youth?
Any of our prevention programs focus on young people as they're beginning to think about becoming sexually active, and if they have become sexually active. And one partner, but they have one partner this week and then another partner the next week. In the language of HIV, that's called multiple concurrent partnerships, and we have many programs that try to introduce young people to the risk that's associated with that behavior so that they take protection. In Nigeria, I think there has been a great deal of attention paid lately to programs focused on prevention of mother-to-child transmission because it's an area of great opportunity. It's an area where we also have recently provided some supplemental funding to the country. But in point of fact, our prevention programs in Nigeria cover the whole spectrum of need, from young people to older people, people who are sexually active, those who are not sexually active. And yes, we absolutely do have programs that work closely with young people so that they understand their risk, understand the behaviors that can help them reduce their risks, and support them in adopting and maintaining those safer behaviors.
Good. Thank you very much. I'm going to digress a little. We've talked so much about HIV/AIDS. Your impression about the country, Nigeria?
I've had the opportunity to transit through Nigeria. I haven't actually visited the country myself, but it is, I think, known to many, many people as one of the countries on the continent with almost limitless promise. Nigerian people are enterprising, many, many well-educated people, and so it's another one of the reasons why we're happy to be partners with the people and the country of Nigeria.
Good. 2011 comes another general elections in Nigeria. Do you have anything to say about that?
That is not the part of diplomacy that this office is involved with. Our work is health, and so we focus on working with those parts of the government of Nigeria that are involved with health, and I wouldn't have, and no one in this office would have, an opinion on the upcoming elections.
All right. It's been wonderful sharing a moment with Warren Buckingham, the man they call Buck, who is the Director of Country Programs, Office of the US Global AIDS Co-ordinator. And this interview is taking place right here in his office in Washington, D.C. As a lover of Nigeria, I have a gift from the Federal Ministry of Information. And you like this?
Very much, yes.
I'm just going to decorate you with this, and that's to show that you are indeed a lover of a great country called Nigeria.
Wear it proudly.
Get. So on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Information and Communications, Federal Republic of Nigeria, I decorate you with the Nigerian flag.
Thank you so much.
And this again is a professional handshake, a tradition on the program. This is what you have to enjoy if you must be on this show. And the young ones, remember what we do is to encourage you so that looking at professionals like the Buck, you too could get into the school to study a course you'll be proud of by the time you graduate. And so my pleasure once again having you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right then, a chat to the professional returns after this break to wrap up. Please don't go away. All right, viewers, that's the much we can take on the show today. Chat with the professional. Come next week, we are certainly going to have another core professional, either from the State Department or from any other part of the world, but you sure are going to see another professional come talk to us about another burning issue. The whole essence, like I keep saying, in this 10th anniversary special of A Chat with the Professional is to try as much as we can to encourage educational development, which, as it were, is dwindling in our great country, Nigeria. And so we are trying to encourage the young ones to get into the university, for instance, to study courses they would be proud of to practice by the time they graduate. We need you to be productive. We need you to be hardworking. And while we bring on these professionals, to give you those inspirations that you need to know that you too can achieve. So why don't you get out there and do what you have to do? And then parents, I keep telling you, do not force your kids to get into studying courses simply because of the prestige you think goes with such a profession. I keep saying it. You do not have to be a medical practitioner. You do not have to be an engineer to be successful. Whatever you do in life, so long as you have passion for it, definitely you shall succeed if you work hard. So, till next week when I come your way, I remain Martin Sobu, and then I say keep glued to your station while we come your way next week. Bye now.